Hey guys, it's Christy and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I am so excited because we're going to be reviewing the brand new Natasha Denona Retro Palette. I'm so excited, you guys. I have been wanting this one for the longest time. She finally released it this past weekend, so we're going to be reviewing it today. So before we get into it, I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's get into it. Okay guys, so this is the Retro Palette, and this is the inside. Isn't she so freaking stunning? So let's just talk about some details briefly. So this palette is based off of her original mini retro, which I believe came out in 2019 or very early 2020. I think it was 2019 though. So this is the mini retro. So you can kind of see how they kind of complement each other. I do think they're both very, very beautiful. So the palette is made in Italy, which is, in my opinion, where the very best eyeshadow quality comes from. I don't know what they do over there, but whenever I see eyeshadows made in Italy, I have very high expectations for the shadows. So this is also her midi size. This retails for $65 US, 85 Canadian. Natasha Denona actually did an Instagram live this week, and she said that for this one, she really wanted to do a true cool toned mauve nude palette, and it really, really looks like she did that. To me, initially where my mind went to when I first saw the promo photos was a muted version of the Love palette, but now that I'm seeing it, I still kind of see that, but at the same time, not quite as much as I originally thought. So this palette contains a mix of mattes, shimmers, metallics, and her cream to powder formulas. There are 5 of the cream to powders. Those shades are Andy, this one right here, Vivian right here, Opart, Go-Go, and Rebellion. They are all her cream to powder formula. And again, some people are very into the cream to powders and some people really don't like them. And the reason she has them in her palettes are because some shades are very hard to formulate. So when she turns it into a cream to powder, she makes it so that you can get that shade that is hard to formulate. You keep the full pigment, but it also makes it blendable. So I think that's amazing, and I am a big fan of her cream to powder formula. So there are also 3 shades that are already existing in her original Lila palette, and those shades are Amara, Helio, and Nude Mauve. So if you have the Lila, you do have 3 of these shades, just so you know. Okay, let's just get into creating a look because I am so excited. This palette is just, it's very beautiful. I am one of the people who have long been a fan of the mini retro. Okay, so as you can tell, my base makeup is already done. All that is left is to actually get into the eyeshadow. So there are quite a few looks I want to create with this, so I will say I am going to have a 3 looks 1 palette video coming as well, because I can't decide which end of the spectrum I want to play with today. I just know that I want to play with some of these shades and give you my initial thoughts. Okay, I think I'm going to start with Vivian. I'm going to use that as my transition shade. And this is, again, this is one of the cream to powders. And I don't know about you guys, but I am all in for a cool toned mauve palette, especially for the fall. I think that's beautiful, and especially with blue eyes. I just find that mauves go very well with blue eyes, which is obviously me. And this shade, Vivian, the cream to powder, it really is, it's so, so, so light. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take it all over the lid, and then I will deepen the crease. I think we're going to do a very soft pinky look. I was thinking of doing like a deeper burgundy kind of thing today, but then I kind of thought maybe I'll save that for my 3 looks 1 palette. Natasha kind of addressed the fact that a lot of people were saying that they were disappointed in the retro palette because she really didn't expand on those grungy greens that were like those taupey greens that were in the mini retro. And she said, so here's some gossip, and Now, normally I don't like to talk about things that aren't released yet, but because she actually discussed this on her Instagram Live, and it is actually saved to her account, I feel comfortable sharing. So she did say that retro is not done. She hinted that there will be some greens coming. So I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be like a retro part 2. I don't know. I'm now going to take the shade Nude Mauve. That's this one right here. And I'm gonna use that to actually deepen that crease color because this is very, very light. It's very pretty, but it's very light. So yeah, so she did hint that there are going to be some greens coming. So that's exciting. I really do like greens. I don't tend to wear a lot of greens, but thinking about it now, she really doesn't have a lot of greens. So I think that could be interesting. I think that would be really, really pretty. Okay, so I will say that the cream to powder formula, even though it does turn into a powder on the eyes, I will say it seems to be giving me a bit of a hard time blending an actual matte on top of it. So I'm not huge on that, but I mean, that's also, I guess, user error. I just shouldn't have done that. I like the way it looks though. Looks quite pretty. Okay, I think I'm gonna take the shade Andy and I'm gonna use that to darken the outer corners. I was saying that it does sound like she was hinting at some greens coming in the future, which I think is so exciting. I would love to see a green palette. All she said was retro's not done, and then she hinted at more greens coming. So I don't know what that means, but I mean, I do hope it means retro part 2. For those of us who are insane makeup collectors, maybe. I don't think it would be great for the everyday person who just wanted one palette, but for those of us who, you know, buy way too much makeup, I think it would be cool to have these mauve-y tones as well as the greens. I just think that would be really pretty. And I can kind of see that being like a spring release. So maybe next year. I really do like the way Andy is looking on this outer corner. I think it's so pretty. And this is another cream to powder. I think it's beautiful. It's so pretty. She did say as well that there is one more release coming this year. One more. She said it's a different concept for the brand and it's not replacing what they currently have. It's just a different concept that they're going to be releasing and seeing how people like. Okay, so I think that is very, very cool as well. I'm excited. I'll probably be picking it up too. So I'm going to take the shade Glitz, which is the one duochrome in this palette. Very excited. I'm going to take it on a finger. Okay, and I'm just going to put that all over the lid. Oh, it's so pretty. This is literally what my eyeshadow dreams are made of, you guys. Yes. Okay. Oh man, I am so here for this palette right now. To me, this looks so pretty. I love it. I love pink in general. Obviously, I love mauves and purples and I love those kinds of things. But I do find it really hard to create those types of looks and tones that I enjoy on myself. But oh my goodness. This is it though. This is like my dream makeup look. This is soft and glittery and girly. Oh, I love it so much. It's so soft and girly and just kind of everything I want. Everything I want my makeup to be. I am so excited. I'm just going to take that shade Psychedelic, which is supposed to be like a topper shade, and I'm going to put that on the inner corner because this shade is supposed to be like a topper, so I just thought it'd be really pretty on the inner corner. Oh yeah. I love Natasha Denona. I love pretty much everything she does. Pinks, mauves, purples, all my favorite tones in a palette. So I knew I would really, really like this, but I didn't know I would like it as much as I do right this very moment. So I'm just gonna pop on some mascara. And while I do that, let's pop over and look at some swatches. Okay guys, so this palette so far is stunning. I am so happy with the look I created today. I hope it is coming off on camera how pretty it looks in person. It's just very glittery and pink and beautiful and reflective and just kind of everything I want in a pretty pinky look that I honestly don't think I've ever been able to actually create before. I feel like this is the pinky look I've always had in my head whenever I go to create a pinky mauve toned makeup, and this is never what I get, but this is always what I wanted. So I am so happy with that. I am so excited. So when I did swatch these, I don't like to rely on swatches because they can be very unreliable, simply because you don't actually know how well a shadow is going to work until you put it on your eyes. That is the only test. But I did find that the shade Groove, this swatched terribly, and you'll have seen that in my clip of swatches, but everything else swatched so beautifully. Psychedelic is definitely just a topper shade, but it is very, very beautiful. And some of these cream to powders, you really don't know the actual shade until you swatch it out though. That's the thing. This one ended up being a really pretty red shade. It's not actually quite as deep as it looks in the pan, which I found very interesting. But I also wanted to do some brief comparisons. So this is obviously a very cool toned mauve nude palette. It's beautiful. But I wanted to try and find some similar options in case you just don't have the cash to spend on this. So I went into my collection and I pulled out the Making Mauves palette from ColourPop. So this is the first one I thought of. And there are some. I did try swatching them together. Unfortunately, my arm was a messy, splotchy mess. So I'm not really going to show you. I did manage to dupe a couple of the shades. Mostly, the dupes were mostly for her mattes. So it's close, but it's not perfect. I will say that you can probably create some very similar looks. However, the one thing you cannot get in the Making Mauves palette is even though there are the 3 shimmers in the middle, they're nothing compared to this. I mean, yeah, it's kind of similar. Another palette though that I pulled out that kind of got me thinking a little bit was the Tartelette Juicy palette. This was closer than I expected. So one thing I wanted to note is that in the retro, there is a couple of more brownie tone shades. You get Jude, you get Opart, you get Helio. Helio is actually like a really beautiful metallic brown. It's a neutral brown, but it's very beautiful. And then Jude is also like a metallic brown, and Opart is a creamy dark chocolate brown. You kind of get that in here. You get your dark chocolate brown, you get this shimmer was a pretty good dupe for Helio. And Jude I didn't quite manage to duplicate, but then even then the shade Dream Chaser is almost like a mauve pink. It's very, very pretty. It reminded me quite a bit of Swing in the Natasha palette. So while I don't have any actual perfect dupes in my collection and I couldn't fully dupe the palette based on the palettes that I own, I do think if you have both of these, you can pretty much get some very, very similar looks. So, I mean, if you're trying to save yourself a little bit of cash and you do have these already, then you could skip this one. This palette is gorgeous. First of all, I love the outer packaging. I think that's super beautiful. Opening her up, I think she is absolutely, absolutely stunning. This color scheme is probably my favorite color story that I have in my whole collection. Is that crazy to say? It is. But no, I mean it. It is my favorite color story. I just think it's beautiful. I love that you get some neutrals. Like, I feel like this side of the palette, very neutral. Over here is where you can glam it up more. It's just gorgeous. And I've already said I am a huge fan of the cream to powder. So big fan of that. Swatching out the shades that I didn't use on my eyes, on my arm, I was like, oh my goodness. The shade Groove makes me a little suspicious. I do want to try it out. It might perform very well on the eyes, so I will see about that. And I will give you another wrap up at the end of my 3 looks, 1 palette, just in case I do notice some deficiencies with some of the shades, but for now, absolutely obsessed with this. This also kind of gives me a bit of a bridal vibe, to be honest. Like, I would have worn this look for my wedding. 100% I would have. I really like this look, and I just think it's, again, it's that perfect look I've always had in my head and wanted to create. So I love it. I could definitely see brides using this. Again, I just love those cool tone mauves for the fall months. And again, on my blue eyes, I love it. My favorite shade so far, I would have to say Glitz is probably my most favorite. That's the one I put all over the lid, and it's very beautiful. It's pink, but it's got a slight gold shift to it. I think it's stunning. But I have to say, Vivian, I really did enjoy all over the lid as just like to put it on and get out the door kind of thing. Makes everything look a little bit cleaner. Slight bit of pink, but just overall just very clean and pulled together. I thought that was pretty. I liked Nude Mauve as a transition. I thought that was nice. But the shade Andy is what really just kind of put it all in place for me. It just turned out so much more beautiful than I expected. It's just a perfect tone. So far, I am incredibly pleased with this palette. I'm not surprised. I kind of figured I would love it, but I don't think I knew I would love it as much as I do right at this moment. So I'm super excited to play with this over the next few days, create some new looks, test out some new stuff, test out some new looks with you guys, see kind of where we go from there. But so far, I'm incredibly pleased. I can't wait to keep playing. But my initial thoughts are absolutely love it, 10 out of 10. So very pleased, not even a little bit surprised. It's Natasha. She's definitely my favorite brand for eyeshadows. So I'm so happy with my makeup. I am so pleased. I feel so pretty and girly. And are you guys picking up this palette? If you do, please let me know down below. Again, let me know everything down below. I'm dying to hear. I love hearing from you guys. So if you're new here, I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. I do upload at least 3 new videos every single week. And that is where we'll leave it for today. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so very much. And I will see you in my next one. Bye!